Hello, hello, hello to a Wednesday stream. Ooh, kind of a different day for me. Usually I go on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we're throwing a monkey wrench in this all, and we're going with a Wednesday this week. Again, I've also I streamed last Saturday. I'm gonna stream again this Saturday too, so you guys will see that. How to doing, Black Math? Thanks for joining me. Thanks, Randy Dice, for giving me the usual double checking my video and audio is good to go. That's always good to hear. Right? So, I think this is the last stream I'm going to spend on this project. I'm probably going to still just do more stuff with it, and maybe later on in other streams I can show you guys where I took it to. But now I want to get into the part of how I would do some internal pieces and looking at this. Because there's a couple techniques and a couple features I would use to do this, right? So I want to cover this, but as usual, you know how I roll. You know I love to go on tangents from time to time, okay? So definitely, obviously the point of these streams as well is making sure you all are connected with us, and if you have any questions or things you want to throw at me, by all means, feel free to do so. Okay? So, doing fine tonight. Thanks for asking, Yetkin. How are you doing? No, the Gremlins for Saturday. Was there a particular question you had about the Gremlin, though? I didn't have any time to sculpt any part of the Gremlin at all. I didn't really even have much time to even sculpt on this one, actually. But did you have a question, Randy, about the Gremlin? It's not like I can't pull it up real quick to answer a question about it. But it's going to look the same it did at the end of the stream on Saturday. Okay. Yeah, it's well, they're recorded, of course, right? So all these are recorded, and you'll be able to go back and watch it. However, I think I might not even do the Gremlin this Saturday, so you might be lucking out, because we're gonna do maybe something special. I'm trying to brew something special up for this Saturday one, actually. So stay tuned for that. Might have a little something special coming down the pipe for that one on the Saturday. Okay, so moving on to this. So again, obviously this project, my goal has been to making a sci-fi ship with inside of ZBrush using some hard surface techniques that I find about it. Okay, so I want to start now. Okay, I'm happy with where it's at. I like my design. I started putting in some more of the details. Obviously, I would go a little bit more, some more detailing in here for sure. Definitely some scribe linings. In essence, some cut lines in more places just to give a little bit more of a size to this ship. Because like I said, the only way I can really give the size to the ship otherwise is putting like people in it or some kind of vehicles. And that immediately will give the size to the ship. What's happening in Black Scorpion? So, Yakin, what's the question about morph target and projection morph slider? What's your question specifically? Just using it and how it works? So go ahead and throw that in there. So, okay, so you can see I've been using folders. So I've got 4 set of folders. So I've kind of blocked my model off. Like there's the cockpit, there's a middle portion, there's the back booster part, and then of course there's my wings. Okay. So let's say we're at the process now where we're happy with this, right? And again, I've been using many different features for this. Array mesh. I've been using obviously zmodeler, and then live boolean. You can see when I turn live boolean off, you can see all the pieces of weird, wacky topology that I'm using to get cuts into the surface and change the surface up, right? So let's just say now I'm at the point where I am 100% done, and now I want to start doing the internal pieces, okay? So I want to use live booleans to do that, for sure, okay? Now, I'm going to, for this stream, look at saying, doing the internal piece of what's going on in this portion of the ship, like the big portion of the ship, and starting to make maybe some detailing in there, right? So again, we are going for something. Let me grab my handy dandy book again. Hold on, let me all right, since I've got the book. Again, we're going for something like this, right? Where I can kind of have this sci-fi cool ship, and then I can see the internal pieces, right? So just having a little bit of kind of something like this, right? That's my goal with this project. Of course, I'm not going to go as crazy detailed as that was, but I want to talk about this. So as the middle piece goes, okay, so the easiest thing for me to do is first is I need to see inside that ship, right? I need to see what's going on there, okay? Okay, so I'll come back to your morph question. Yeah, Ken, I'll come back to it. So just let me start building this up, and then I'll come back to you on that for sure. Just remind me. Don't let me forget. Okay? So this is the middle piece that I have selected right now, which in essence is this big middle section here, right? So the easiest thing for me is to start looking internally inside and start seeing what's going on inside there, right? Is going to say, okay, I'll just insert. And I'm going to do insert and not append, because insert is going to allow me to have that, whatever I'm going to select, right below the selected subtool. Where append will always drop it down, right, to the bottom of the list. No, you as far as your question, Randy, about can the Boolean, though, do multiple folders? So are you talking about subfolders? Like you have a folder and you have another folder with inside a folder? If that's your question, no. ZBrush does not do that. So, but what I'm doing is, you can see I've got a folder and then I've got two start groups, right? So that's kind of acting like the start groups are kind of like their own group, right? To the point where, see, I can turn off this start group and see it turns off all subtools of that start group. So that's how I'm using this system, is I've got my main folder for the middle part, and then I'm using start groups to kind of control sections. And that's important, again, because I don't want certain things like this seam right here, this cutting in right here. So if I turn this back on, right, I don't want this part to be affecting these parts, or vice versa. So by me making a start group, I've got that middle repeating piece, and then there's just certain things I want affecting those middle repeating pieces. And then I've got that main middle section, and now I've got certain things I only want to affect that middle section. So that's the point of the start groups, is I'm controlling what affects what subtools in a way. So that's kind of like a subfoldering system in a way. All right, so again, I'm going to insert, and just to throw a cube in here, I'm going to throw a cube in here, and you can see the insert now as put this. And I'm a big component of renaming. So I'm just going to call this open body sub. I always use sub, the word sub is just short for subtractive, because I'm going to want to use a subtractive piece. Okay, so this is the cube right here that's sitting right here. Okay, so as I go and move this cube around, right, it's nothing fancy, nothing yay, okay, but you can see right there, see how that part of it's getting cut out? It's because that cube, right, is sitting above that cutting piece, right? So you guys can see that, right? So if I was to move this down, right, and then if I update this and move it around, you can see I got a full cube again, right? Because now that cube is sitting below this piece. So this is like a hierarchy, right? So anything that is from here up is going to affect that very first piece in the start group, right? So then obviously from here on up. So if I turn this into a subtractive, you can see this is now cutting in to only that section, right? And you can see this is a great example of the start groups. This is the only start group it's affecting. So if I say did a duplicate and then I moved it up into this start group and turn this into subtractive, you can see that starts to go also now, right? So you can see I would need these cubes in both of these start groups if I wanted both things to be affected, right? And then this is showing you how I can kind of open up, right, the middle section for us, right, and start looking at this in this sense, okay? But what I'm going to do is throw a little extra thing in this, okay? I might want to do a little bit more than what we have here. So in essence, I might want to have some internal wall thickness happening. So let me turn off the gizmo. So right now, right, you can see it's just, obviously if I was doing the interior part, it wouldn't be just like a closed wall like this and then a closed wall like this. There's levels in my ship of people to walk around and do things, and obviously the bottom section down here is going to be for where I'm going to store like vehicles and things like that, and then quarters and where people would sleep, and everything else would be going along maybe the top section. So in essence, I'm seeing this ship as like a multi-tier thing, right? I'd probably see it as almost 3 levels, okay? And then that's what I'm envisioning. So now I kind of want to show off that 3-level part, okay? So, but when I do this, I want to have maybe a little extra stuff in there, okay? So for the sake of just understanding this a little bit, I want to do some hollowing out in a way, all right? So let's just say this. I'm going to duplicate now this one right here. So I'm on this piece right here. You know what? Here, I'm going to even do this. I'm going to go to my preferences. I'm going to go to my interface. Okay, I'm sorry, no, eye color. I don't know why I said interface. And I'm going to affect my selected subtool just so you guys can kind of see it a little bit better, okay? So there are different icons all through here, right? This is the best way to see what an icon can do. Hey, John, thanks for tuning in while you work. Okay, I'll try to be as quiet as I can, which means that's not going to happen because I'm loud and obnoxious. So the best way to do this is doing this. So you can see how you can kind of scroll over things and it gets the number. If I can come back, I can do this. So for example, if I'm doing this, you can just see what I did there, right? Now the text for the highlighted subtool is actually this blue right now, right? And then I can say this, right? You can see the overall text. I can actually make darker with this other swatch, right? If I want to go back to the original color, I just click this and it goes back to the original color. And then these, you can see, are going to affect other elements, right? So you can bring a little color in. So you can use this for you just as a way, a guide for you, if you kind of want to see the difference between certain elements, right? So you can see this swatch, this color picker is also affecting other things in the UI. It's not just for the subtools, okay? But this is a great way to see things, right? Maybe find a little bit different shade of gray. Right now, you got a better visual viewing of, you can see what that selected subtool is. Okay, just a little fun thing, and it's just also for streaming, so you guys can really see what I'm talking about. So you can see now my selected subtools in the blue, right? And then I'm going to duplicate that one, and then now see I have a new one. Okay, and then let's just resize this up like this, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, I like that. And let's have this go inward more, like this. And I'm going to use that as a subtractive, okay? Now you can see the problem is, because the way I've been working, I have the start group on the top, but then there's also the start group on the bottom, right? So if I turn this off, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm kind of creating just a thickness really fast, okay? And I'm just using this cube. And in fact, I don't like this cube. I stay away from this cube as much as possible, in all honesty. And the reason why I stay away from this cube is I do not like the poles that are here and here. So sculpturally, I stay away from this cube because you're not going to get a consistent sculpt. Now, if I'm going to turn this into something like a Dynamesh, it's not going to matter, right? But for the sake of this, I do not like this cube, okay? So I'm going to swap it out. And this is what I really love about talking about the differences of ways of working. So for me as an artist, okay, I don't want to now just add another subtool. I just want to swap it out, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, let's just center it, make sure it's centered on the cube, because where this gizmo lives is going to be very important to me now. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap it out by clicking on this gear. And because nothing's masked off on this cube, that it's completely available, I'm just going to switch to this polycube right here. And then ZBrush will swap it out, right? And now this cube is just a different size, okay? So I just need to make this bigger, Okay? And what's nice, if I hit the W key, I can go back and forth. So I'm going to stick the solo mode so you guys can see this, right? So W key is putting me back in gizmo mode. W key is putting me in this, what is this? This has got the cones, right? And really what I'm doing is I'm switching between these two buttons right now where, hey, give me the gizmo, give me the polycube. I don't know why I'm air quoting it, but just go with it, okay? And I actually want to go in this mode because I want to limit the cube to this. It's just going to be easier to have no spans of topology right now to change the size of this cube to what I want, right? Because now I want this cube to kind of make a hollowing section coming through here, right? And then you say, okay, if you do this, you see, you start going through all of it, right? So where the gizmo lives, again, is going to be important. So I can hold the Alt key and then tap, right? And you can see that gizmo is going to move to a certain plane. So now if I do this, you see it only moves this face, right? So this can help me say how far down do I want to go, right? Something like that. Okay, and then now I want to come Alt key tap here, and now I want to go this way because I wanted to cut through all the surfaces, right? And so now this is kind of showing an opening, okay? You can also just use masking, right? So I can do a little Control and Alt, right? And now the 4 vertex points on the bottom are unmasked, and I can watch that change, right? And then I can inverse this and say, okay, I want a little more thickness up here for that part. So you can see I'm opening this up now a little bit more. Okay, there's a lot more opening happening to this, right? And again, I might want to also say, right, let's insert an edge, maybe loop right here, not with any masking on. And I'm going to say, let's Q mesh this way, and then do it again that way. So this will send it down, you can see down the ship, right? So I'm going to now readjust this now that I'm seeing my internal ship and say, okay, let's go there. Okay, and I don't need this to push all the way back that far. We'll go there, right? And then the front part, I don't need it to push back that far. We'll go right about there. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm creating it something like that. Right? So I'm just using, in essence, this cube to kind of cut out the middle portion that I want to show. And the reason why I'm staying really low, it gives me the ability, right? Again, it's really low polygon, okay? So it gives me the ability, like, to change things up, okay? So I can even say, if you look at this, the size of this hole that I'm making, right? I might say, you know what? I want it to be, let's make it even bigger. Let's say, let's go this deep. And then in the back side, let's bring it a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more, at least to the wing a little bit. Okay? And again, you can see all I'm doing, again, to give you guys an understanding, looking at just this, I'm doing this, and I'm switching to the Alt key. Alternate! Right? And then now I'm doing this. Okay? So, to Randy, your question, no, what I did is not the same thing as just appending or inserting tools. Okay, the difference is I actually swapped out the mesh. Okay, where I'm inserting and appending the tools, I'm inserting it, but then it just gets plopped into the world wherever it is. Okay, so the thing you got to understand here, okay, so here we're going to duplicate this, and I'm also now going to add this to the bottom of this chain, right, so that it's cutting through as much as I need it to cut through, right? So this particular one needs to come more. I need this surface now and this surface to make sure I can start cutting through the whole body. So I need this, okay, this part to come more through, like that. Right? And then so now this is what I have. Right? So I'm going to show you guys another way about doing this, right? This is just me showing you based upon what I have now. And you can see I'm having to do a lot of duplicating and things like that. Okay, good, John. Glad you can listen to loud, because I'll be allowed. Now, Randy, to your question, you were asking when I did that swap out with that gizmo and the difference between inserting and appending. Those are very different things. Very different things, okay? The biggest difference is this, okay? If I'm going to insert or append, again, the only difference between append and insert is insert's going to drop the mesh that you want to add to this tool right below the selected subtool. Append always puts it at the bottom of the list, right? So if I add 150 subtools and I hit append, it's going to make it number 151, okay? If I add insert, and let's say I have subtool 42 selected, it's now going to make the mesh I'm adding subtool number 43 now, and then obviously my list expands to 151 total. Does that make sense, the difference between append and insert? Okay, because the big difference here is, okay, so just for the sake, I'm going to insert something. Let's insert something weird, like this gear, okay? And then this gear is just sitting right here in space. Okay, so I got this gear here. We'll make it bigger so just visually you guys can see it, right? So the difference here is, yeah, right now is this is sitting right here, right? And this is sitting somewhere in space. And if you're going to import, that's just swapping out the mesh for sure, right? But I want the ability, right, to, okay, I can do more than just swap the mesh. I can say this mesh sits at a 45-degree angle, right? And however my gizmo's sitting in the world, or wherever it is for that matter, so if I even do this, right? So even though that's the gizmo that's driving that gear, okay, I want to be able to swap it. And what's going to happen is I just want to swap with a geometrical shape. So when I click on this, what we're doing is we got our deformers and then we got these geometrical shapes. So let's say I want to do a ring 3D. So when I click this, you can see where the ring actually goes. It doesn't go where the gear was. It goes actually where the gizmo is. So wherever that gizmo sits and however that gizmo is aligned in the world, that's how we're going to plop this in now, right? So that's the big difference here, okay, is that I am controlling that plopping in. What's going on, pre-drag? Well, Jose, if you're going to bring a model in for, say, from something Fusion 360, that's a CAD-based application. It's not polygon-based. It's all lofting surfaces. You need to export it as an actual polygon mesh to bring it in. So I don't know Fusion 360 enough to tell you what settings and things you need to do to export your results from that application. But you're going to have to export it as a polygon mesh. Then you can bring it in. But however, there'll be workflow for that because you could have a mess in that. I might be able to, you know what, let's see if I can find something here. But before I do that, Randy, does that answer your question to what the way I was swapping out the pieces and the difference between using this compared to an insert and an append ability, right? So let me know, Randy, if that's the answer. So I'm going to move on then to, I'm going to see if I have a particular mesh. Give me 1 second while I'm waiting for Randy to answer. And let me see if I have something actually. I want to see, this is not my piece. This is from an amazing artist, Vitaly Bokarov. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I do have the tool. Okay, and this is something Vitaly allowed, you know, one of his pieces that you can go download from his website, which he uses a combination of many applications, ZBrush being one of them. But one of the applications he does use is a CAD-based program. So you can see the surface that's coming from the CAD-based program, right? And in fact, you guys will get something for those that are trying to use CAD-based programs, whether you're a jeweler, you're a product designer, you're doing something else, because it is being used a lot, ZBrush and any other CAD-based program. I don't know what part it is. Okay, it's not that one. Okay, it's this one. Okay, so this is what I got from Vitali's little kit, right? The problem with this is that, and this is the problem you're going to have with a lot of maybe CAD-based programs. If you're trying to bring CAD items into ZBrush, it's going to give you obviously topology in a lot of cases that is not very good. Okay, so in this case, you can see there's just different triangulation, right, all through here, right, and it's patch based, right. So as this is a lofted surface, then it just makes a patch right here, and you can see like we go in here, there's multiple patches in here, right. So if I start smoothing it out, you can see how many patches that are in it. Like that's a patch, this is a patch, right, and everything's not welded. So when you go to divide something, you're going to get that disaster. Okay, and then on the same token, all right, when you go to divide this and try to sculpt on this, the divisions, good afternoon, Mr. Sandson, is not going to be very good, all right? So what I want to have the ability to do, obviously, is I want to weld these points. So in our geometry, there's a weld points. So this particular piece is set up well because all the patches have nice vertex points all around. Oh, thanks, Dougie, for the comments on the Todd McFarlane. I'm glad you were able to make that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. So weld my points here. Weld them up. Right here, weld points, and then there's a welding distance. Right? So what this is going to do is see now I can divide, and everything just doesn't come separated. Okay? But you can see what divided ugly triangles are going to do. There's nothing you can do about that. You're dividing a triangle, so you will need to remesh it. So in this case, this model, this is what I prepped for the remeshing. I used polygrouping in order to help me drive the way I want the remesher to work. This is super tangent stuff right now, right? We're in super tangentville, but this is going to be related to what I'm going to go do with my ship anyways, because I'm going to go and show you guys something the way I would probably block out the internal part of my ship a little differently to make the hole, in essence, into my hull. What do you say? This is definitely Lisa needs braces moments, right? Just because you brought it up, I'm so happy I found this graphic. It's amazing. Okay. So I'm going to just duplicate this, okay? So we have two versions of this, and I'm going to say new polygroup, right? So what I want to have happening is I want to remeshing, because I want, when I divide, I'd rather divide with quads. So the best thing that I can do for that is use the Z-remesher, okay? So number one, I'm going to make sure I'm in symmetry mode, because this is a symmetrical piece, right? So again, transform in your symmetry. So you can see this is in X symmetry, and I don't see the other dot? See, it's like sitting way out there in space, okay? And I'm going to show you, Dougie, I would not make the polygroups. You're going to see how I made these polygroups, okay? So obviously this mesh is set up a little different. I turn on the floor, okay? He's got it set up differently where it's kind of turned, right? So if I wanted symmetrical X, I would actually need to turn this and have it facing like that, right? And then now I've got symmetry X, right? So there's times where maybe you're not going to be able to rotate it. So that's why in the transform, I can come over here and say, let's do symmetry along the Z instead. And now you can see I've got my symmetry. Okay, so that stuff's important for you because when you start using features, okay, there you go. Okay, so now what I did is, obviously that first step was welding the points of this CAD file. And then now I want to clean it up, okay? Because when we divide, we're getting a disaster. So I want to use things like creasing, and I want to use Z-remesher. So I'm going to go to polygroups here, and we have a button here that's going to allow you, with one click, say group by normals. So you can see with just that one click, what starts to happen here is we're looking for surface change, planing change, okay? And some of those are going to get a new polygroup by just clicking that button. So now if I hide this green one, you can see all the new polygroups now that I got just by clicking it. Okay, but next to that is a slider. And this is a degree angle. So it's looking at faces that are all sitting in certain planes. And when there's a degree shift to the next plane that's 45 degrees or higher, it says, okay, that's where polygroup changing needs to happen, right? So if I knock this down, let's just knock it in half to 20, and then polygroup by normal, you can see, all right, you're getting, see now that had a new polygroup. Now, what is nice about this is we actually wrote 2 different algorithms for this, because there's no way for us to write necessarily a perfect algorithm one time for every type of mesh that we have out there and what we're doing. So then there's just 2 ways to analyze the mesh depending on what we're doing. And for me, opening this little circle up right here, okay, so again, so you can see right here, groups by normals, there's a closed circle, it's like close, and then there's the open circle. So just to give you a gauge, you're going to see that kind of thing all over ZBrush's UI. So a closed circle is more of like, think about in many cases going to be like, if I'm making a fist, it's a fist, right? So it's that form, that silhouette, it's a fist. Hey, what's that? The rookie, we did it! You know? If I'm doing an open circle, think about now my fist is opening up and I have an open hand. So I can have a whole bunch of different type of silhouetting. So in essence, think about it as a stronger algorithm when you got an open circle, because then it's going to allow you to change silhouette a little bit more where it's around here. So in essence, this is an open circle now. So there's a different algorithm that's a little bit stronger. So when I click that, it's going to analyze it a little bit more differently. And you can see, boom, this is already giving me way better polygrouping right out the gate, right? Just with that one click, I can now get this type of polygrouping. So you can play with this really easily, because you can see that literally took a couple seconds. So you can just change your setting and then bingo bango. I'm actually liking what I'm seeing now a lot better, right? The Balboa algorithm seems better. Yeah. We should start calling. I like it. I'm going to start calling it, anytime I talk about this now, it's become the Balboa algorithm. Boom. That just happened, right? And I'm assuming you're referring to the open circle, because that is a better algorithm. It is a better algorithm. That was kind of the second run on this. And then at any time I want to start combining, there's some polygrouping here that I don't like that happened. You guys can also just visually look at a piece. So I can just look at this piece and say, okay, how about now I just do the other algorithm on the other piece, right? And you can see it's a little too aggressive because I'm making too many polygroups here, right? So I'm going to say, okay, B, not so aggressive. So you can see you can even swap through, and I can visually even just look at certain ones, right? So now what's happened is I've got that, right? This one I want to now fix, and now I can go in here and do things like this, right? So you can come in here and use these algorithms bit by bit, right? Someone also brought it up. I can then, at this point, this gets me really far, okay? I can come here, and I can use the zmodeler brush. Right, so I got a space bar, I got a polygroup option if I want to. Okay, the closed circle and open circle on the creasing is just that. The open circle is going to be a different algorithm that's going to allow creasing moving. It's tough to see, so if you're talking about the crease level here, okay, the closed circle is kind of what's been in ZBrush forever, and then the open circle is just a little different algorithm where there's going to be, depending on the topology, we're going to allow a different type of little bit smoothing happening. Okay, so into your question, Dougie, about polygroup it, no, I would not use polygroup it for this. Does anybody even know what polygroup it is? Just so everyone understands. This is going down a tangent, but I like it. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is set up, make polygroups. So I can just sit here and I can paint polygroups, see? And I can change them, right, with the zmodeler. But I can also just switch to polygroup, and then I can say, hey, flat island, and I click this, right? And then now any face that has along that same island, okay? Which an island means this. Like all the faces, you can see when I turn it, you can't see the mesh, because all those faces are sitting along the same plane, i.e. flat island. Right? So, all I did is, it took me maybe 10 minutes, okay, to get to this point where I've got now this piece. Okay, and now I want to remesh it. But this is a really important moment here. This is, everybody, say it with me. Say it with me. Look up here. Look up here. Look up here. Right? This is when you're going to remesh, okay, with the Z remesher, it does an amazing job, and there's so much power in it. But if I zoom in here, okay, and let's just look at these faces. Those are pretty much perfect. There's nothing to remesh there. They're clean. It's equidistant topology. It's very low topology, right? So actually, this could cause issue down the line, possibly with the Z remesh. In essence, it's going to, okay, you're asking to remesh this, which it'll be fine, but I'm using this polygroup ability because I want to turn something on with the Z remesher. So in this, I don't want to just sit here and go, okay, let's make sure we're in symmetry mode. It's in the Z, okay? So here, you can see it, right? There's my brushes. And then I'm going to say, okay, Z remesh it, and then it's going to symmetrically Z remesh it. So this is just straight out of the box, straight out of the package, right? It does an amazing job. Like, boom. Like, we're off and running, and we can start sculpting. Like, that is pretty impressive how good that is, right? But now we even have things like, okay, detect edges. So I can say detect an edge. Now the algorithm is going and looking for sharp angles, right? And trying to remesh based upon those sharp angles. And you can see where it found some angles, it's also assigning other polygroups. Okay? But I have found, for me, for something like this, taking the time to polygroup this off real fast, the keeping groups is huge. So this is where I was talking about with the type of topology rating here. So let's just do the default now with the keep groups on. Okay, because there's something that's just for the sake of understanding, right? Does a pretty darn good job, right? And now if I look at this, see, it did even a pretty good job of trying to keep this, right? But what I like to do sometimes, I've found over my years of using the Z remesher and kind of just, in essence, it does a great job, but I kind of want to push it another way a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the old crease by Paul Gabry. Yes, I have a button! No, but it's really obviously, it's a crease by polygroup, right? So it's looking at every single polygroup. You got to say polygroup like that. It's mandatory when you're with me. What's that doing is every single polygroup right here is getting a creased edge. So what's nice about this is when I go to divide, right, I'm adding topology. It's triangle, but you can see it becomes rounded and soft. So I'm adding more topology through here. It's becoming a little more rounded in there. And overall, right, that can even, boom, there you go, solve your problem where I don't even have to remesh if I don't want to, right? Because we have things like Sculptris Pro now, right? So if I kill this and I turn on Sculptris Pro, I can sculpt in here. So let's say I switch to Damien Standard and I just want to start putting some cuts through here, right? I can start cutting through here and smoothing this out, right? And then I'm triangulating on the mesh that exists. But you can see this has got really crazy topology in it, right? So I might want to take this even further, okay? And something maybe I want to do is, man, I am on tangents today. What's happening, Garth? Thanks for coming in. Is I can come here and rip out Sculptris Pro. I'm going to turn off live booleans for now. We don't need that. And then I'm going to go here to Tessimate and just click it. Yes! I've made modern art! It's obviously, yeah, it's totally a tangent within a tangent within a tangent now. This now, if I start dropping this, you'll see my surface start slowly coming back to life. And what this is doing is equally triangulating across the whole mesh, right? So you can see if I turn this on, you're getting things like this. So this feature could be beneficial for you, for sure, right? Boom, there you go. And then now if I'm in Sculptris Pro mode, you can see, yes, right? Because I've gotten rid of the crazy triangles, but now I'm also dynamically tessellating as I sculpt, right? So you can see this workflow can really be beneficial, right? You can see the quality that we can start getting in our strokes. Okay, now let's go back to where I was really trying to go because that was crazy tangentville. But I'm showing you guys this because there's going to be times where this workflow might be working better than another workflow. Okay, I want the ZRemesher workflow. I want all quads. Okay. Hey, Dark Knight. Thanks for coming in, man. I saw you commented on my last stream and said you were going to start watching me. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate that. This is the inception of tangents. Oh my gosh. I have a new graphic, John, that I can pull up. Yes, I'm always looking for new crazy graphics to change. I am totally making an inception tangent graphic now. Yes. Okay, so again, remember I polygrouped this off with the polygrouping options here, right? Which is our groups by normals, right? That gave me some polygrouping. I went and did some editing here and there, okay? And then now knowing the algorithm of doing a remeshing, I'm actually going to want to throw it more topology, not less topology. So then I creased by the old Paul Gabry, which you'll never forget now, the old PG, okay? And yes, the Balboa, John, thank you, sir, yes. Right? And now I've divided up. So what that's doing is just maintaining my surface that I want. It's nice and clean. Now, because there's a little more topology there, it's actually going to help the algorithm of the ZRemesher, right? So now, I'm just going to delete the lower because we don't need it. We don't need you anymore. Get down, right? And then now I'm still keeping groups, and I'm remeshing. But the thing is, I'm now not sending the mesh that had, like, I don't remember what it was, the polygon counts. I think it was probably around 20,000 polygons. I'm sending 503,000 active points, right? And because it's triangles, it's probably more like in the 530,000 polygon range. But I've got now a little bit cleaner surface. There's more information there in essence to give the remesher. You see, it might take a little bit longer to remesh it, but the result I get could get better down the line, right? So this I like to do just to try and start pushing it a little bit more, right? So actually in this, I see some polygrouping that I probably wouldn't want to keep. I probably want all of this to be one. Like I don't know why I even did that. I'd probably want that. So I'd want this piece to all be at least one polygroup, right? And it looks like that will continue through here, right? That would probably have been a smarter point, right? So super tangent involved there for CAD-based stuff. Okay? So that's kind of the routes I can go with this. So going back now to where we originally were, okay, is looking at this, right? My ship. Okay? So we can undo. Let's just delete this subtool. We don't need this. We don't need ya. We don't need ya. Okay? And now I want to start cutting into it. So instead of doing where I was doing these multiple cubes, right? Because the middle section has two start groups, I made like a cube that kind of just originally cut in, and now I made a cube to kind of make the cut in width and then give me some thickness. Okay? In the sense for that. Okay? Let's delete these. Okay, and well, in fact, you know what? I'm trying to think if I want to what I want to do in here. I'm trying to think if I want to just load another. I got it saved. I can load another version. Who cares? Okay, so let's delete that cube. Let's delete this cube. Let's go down and delete this cube. And let's go down and delete this cube. Okay, so now here's going to be our benefits. All right? This is why I also like to work with the folder system, especially when I'm dealing with the live booleans. Right? I'm going to now have the ability. The only section I really care right now about cutting up, in essence, like cutting into and opening it up so I can start creating internal stuff in there, is that middle section. So because that middle section is its own folder, okay, I can click on this gear and I can tell it to Boolean folder or Boolean with the DS div. Okay, for 4 million points. Does anybody know what that DS div stands for? Why I take a drink of water. It's 4 million, and at the end of my stream, whoever has the most points, it's very important. How you doing, Elon? Okay. So what that's standing for is the dynamic subdiv. So John got it. 4 million points, John. All right. So I am using dynamic subdiv. So I don't want to do Boolean folder. Okay. I want to use Boolean with dynamic subdiv divisions. And what that is, for those that don't know, in geometry, there's a dynamic subdiv button right here, and you can see it's on. And what that is giving me a preview of right now 2 subdivision levels of the mesh that I have selected. Dark Souls divisions. Okay? Don't drink and model. No way. So I don't want my mesh. So whatever that mesh is that I have selected, here you go. This is the mesh I have selected right now. So you can see how this looks. So if I come here and up it a little bit, you can see the quality. But really, if I turn off dynamic subdiv, this is really the mesh that's inside of ZBrush. Right? And what I'm doing by turning on dynamic subdiv is I'm getting a preview, right, of what this would look like if I was dividing up 4 times. That's what this is doing, right? But it's not actually dividing it. Like, I'm not changing my polygon count up here. So you can see my polygon count is staying at 1300. Okay, so what I want to do, coming back out of solo mode, and I'm not worried about that again. I'm just worried about this middle section. I'm going to come up here and say, let's do a Boolean with dsdiv. So what's happening now is that one folder, we're going through each one of the subtools there. We're looking at your Boolean options you've set up. We're looking at the start groups. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to get 2 new subtools that are going to be that middle section. Okay? So this is telling me, hey, there's some things in here that might be a problem. This is great. I'm so glad this happened. Okay? It still created it, but it's just telling you there's some surface issues maybe in there. And I know what it is. It's because I have some coplanar surfacing in this. But you can see this still made the results. So you can see what happened here is I've got this piece and I've got this piece. So if here we do old solo out, there is my final piece, right? With all the Boolean cuts that I did. When I turn on the polyframe, you can see what it did, right? What it's actually doing is applying the dynamic subdivs as real topology, then doing the Boolean process. Okay? So that's a big difference there, right? Okay? You're pumped to start ZBrush. It's hard to make out your name because you're the blues combined with the blues. Tic-tator tiger. I can see the tiger. It's tough to read it on the blue for me. Sorry. You're just getting started in ZBrush? That's awesome, man. Welcome to the family. Okay, and as far as the question that just came through about computer specs, okay, ZBrush doesn't use a video card at all, right? There's no video card being used. There's only one part where we're using a video card, and that's polygroup it. Okay? As far as computer-wise, you'll want to get the best processor that you can afford. So in essence, the more threads and the higher speed, that's the best thing you want to get processor-wise. Okay? And then you want to get as much RAM that you can afford. Me, personally, now, where we're at in the CG world and when all the programs are doing, I wouldn't get less than 32 gigs of RAM now. It's just, it's pointless now. Like, even like when you go to like a Best Buy, or for those that don't know what Best Buy is, an electronic shop here in North America, and you go buy a computer off the shelf, right? You can now get like 16 gigs as like off the shelf computer. So I'm to me now, I think bare bones in the CG world is 32 gigs in RAM. Okay? And then your processor is going to kick into place. We're using those two a lot. And then the third thing is your hard drive. Okay? Yeah, 100% ZBrush uses hyperthreading. That's why you want to get a processor that has multiple threads in it. So i.e. if you get a processor that's got 6 cores, now today pretty much most of those are going to be hyperthreading, so it's really 12 threads, right? If I go on this computer that I'm on right now, okay, I can see my threads. So through here we have things right here, and you can see performance. I got 32 threads. Okay, so this is actually a 16-core processor that I have. Okay, and I got 64 gigs of RAM. But speeds all come into play there too. Like there's RAM with different levels of speed. Like just like there's a processor different levels of speed. Right? And just like a hard drive has different levels. So yeah, 32 gigs. Also, you should look at the speed. right, of your RAM, and then you should also, the hard drive you're going to put in, you should look at that speed as well. Because those three main components is really what ZBrush is going at. Number one being the processor, then the RAM, okay, then your hard drive. So your RAM and your processor are going to be the most important two things you're looking at. Okay, so going back to this. So what happens, you can see, is the folder automatically gets turned off, right? And now I have two subtools here. And these two subtools, you can see, are actually the start groups. That's what these are, right? So these are the start groups now, right, of my mesh. Okay, so what it did is it went, oh, in your folder, you've got two start groups. So every single piece that I'm doing here, I'm just going to make now two additional subtools. I still have my folder, okay, with all the pieces. I like this approach for me personally because it's non-destructive. So as I'm moving along, and if I don't really like, you know what, oh man, I really want to go add something to this. Guys, this is so easy to do. I'm not married to, oh no, everything's welded together, everything's divided up. At any point in time, I can sit here and I can delete this piece and just go back, turning on my folder, right? And then just go back and redo that Boolean. I'm a big fan of this. This is why I'm using folders, because I've had this happen to me where I'm like, oh, you know what? I've had times where like I make even use text, right? And then the text changes. And I'm like, oh, great. Right? Think about that. I got to go and change text on something. That's not going to be fun to go and do that, right? It's just, in fact, here, if I have a, let's see if I can find a tool that has text. Just, I really want to hit home with this because I really love this non-destructive work way for me working. I'm a big fan of it because it's just how many times I've ran into issues where because I'm working this way, I'm all good. I'm looking to see if I have something on a particular hard drive. Give me 1 second. I don't think I have it. Doesn't look like I have it. Darn it. Wait for it though. Hold on. Let me look at another drive. Let me, because I want to hit this home for you guys. Let's see. I might have it on this little drive here. Man, super tangent today. This is definitely an inception of tangents. Okay, I think... No. Oh, I do. Yes! Okay, so like something like this, right? So this is something I made where I want to kind of reuse this little screw piece everywhere, right? So you can see there's text there. So here's the problem is that text says U.S. Army, right? If I ever want to go change that text, let's say that has been changed down the line. Let's say now you wanted to say Navy instead of U.S. Army or Air Force, right? The problem we have here is, okay, let me just put everything in a folder real quick for us. So I just have it. Army, I'll just call it Army, right? And then let's throw those in there, okay? So now this is all in a folder, right? So when I go now and say live Boolean again, and I'll do sdiff because that's what I have, this is all now, right? One subtool, and you see everything is there. But you can see that text is attached now, right? So if I go to smooth this, there's my problem. Beautiful, beautiful. Modern art, baby. Modern art! Right? Now, because I've now done this structure system where I've got a folder, if I ever want to go change that text, or I decide, you know what, I don't even want the text anymore, that's an easy thing. And in fact, I can create two versions of this where I've got a version with the text and a version without the text now. So I can go here and let's turn the folder back on, and let's turn the text off, right? And then now let's go ahead and Boolean that out. And now I've got a version with no text, and I got a version with text, right? So I've got two versions. So for me, I can now say, okay, these are awesome. These are two little pieces that I want. I can say brush, and I can say create, insert multiple mesh. Okay? And what that's going to do is look at all subtools, right? And you see all subtools have been added. Okay? If I wanted to, I could just say brush, create insert mesh brush, and I'm going to say new. Now I've got that one, and then now I click on this one, brush, create insert mesh brush. Or you guys could go even here, and you can say from mesh, and it'll pick it up, right? And so now what I have here is I'm using this to create a screw with US Army, and then I have a screw without US Army, right? So this is why I like this workflow. It allows me to quickly create different variations. It allows me to go backwards if I need to and change things, adjust things. So I'm a big, huge fan of this component. So in this case with my ship, 100% this is the workflow I would go with, right? And then now I could probably even say, you know what? I want a new folder here. So Control F, and I'm going to say middle Boolean pieces. I'm going to say result. Okay, so this is the middle portion, and now I've got another folder with just the middle portion, right? So now my benefit is, okay, if I'm going to now redo what I was doing before, right? I was doing like that cube thing, okay? I'm going to say, you know what? I'm just going to actually duplicate this. Click on the gizmo. I'll center that. Go here and say cube it up, right? And again, this is what I have. Okay, that cube. And now I'm going to say, okay, this cube, it's going to be now my cut piece, right, for all of it. So my job just got a little bit easier because now it's automatically just cutting both at the same time for me, right? And because now I've limited to the number of subtools, and now I've got an interior part, right, where I can show this off. And again, I can look at this mesh. So if we turn on polyframe, you'll see it, and then I can say, all right, let's go a little bit deeper. Oh, cancel that. I'm going to say, how deep do I want to go? Right, I don't want to go all the way through, maybe something like that. Okay, and then I say, okay, do I want to go a little bit deeper the other way so people get the idea that this thing's going to be completely open through the entire line of the ship, right? And then so now this is where, again, looking at this and looking at zmodeler, I can insert an edge and say right there is where I want that to be. And then right here, I'm going to say QMesh, single polygon, and pull that out, and pull that out, right? And then this is, in essence, cutting through all of that. Right? And you can see that cube's only affecting these two subtools here. So I don't even have to adjust the fact that that cube's way out here in no man's land, unless I wanted to affect it, right? And then change where that's actually sitting in space, right? And there you go. There you have it, right? So this is how I can start opening up the ship, okay? And in this case, I kind of want to open up a little bit more this way. Okay, so I'm going to put another edge loop here, and I'm just going to pull that up because I kind of want to open up this way as well. So, and then we'll do that. That way I can really see inside my ship. Right, because now my goal is I want to start creating some internal pieces in there. Yeah, 100% there's a way West 3D art to change. That's kind of what I'm going to get into right now. To change, there is an instancing system, and that's actually what I'm about to use right now. Okay, so I now have an opening for my ship, and now I kind of want to sell the fact that this is made of multiple layers, right? Because this ship, this is also going to help me bring in the scale, right? This is going to help me establish how big my ship really is in real life. Okay, so I'm going to just append, a cube. It's not relevant really what it is because I want it to be the bottom subtool automatically because I'm going to start building interior parts. Okay, so I'm immediately going to folder this up, man. Okay, and say it's interior. Okay, and then I'm going to say, all right, Again, you guys know how I feel about this cube. I don't like it, so I'm going to swap it out with this cube. Okay? Then now I'm just saying, okay, this is going to be some kind of level inside here now. Okay? So this is going to sit in here. And it should go all the way down the ship. And to get my scaling, right, I definitely don't want it to be, right, really super thick. I want it to have an understanding that this is multiple level, tiered level things happening, right? So maybe up here in the top, there's going to be like, that's the quarters where the people are going to go live or sleep when they're flying through space. Okay? Karakus, 1964. The best place for sure to go to start learning. I'm sure a bunch of people can also throw in here for you as well. Let me launch a browser real quick. Give me a second. There are a lot of places that you could go. Okay. One place that I would go here is ZBrush Central. In the sense that people are sharing work here all the time. So this is a great place to get inspired. It's a great place to get some tips. It's a great place to just get help. Like you can put stuff up here and say, hey man, I'm trying to make this. How would you go about doing this, right? So this is a great way to do it. Okay? All right, another place, honestly, to go is obviously if you go to our website, this is going to be a really good spot to go. And of course, where you're at right now is a great place, right? Because we're all going through things like this. So, and Pixologic.com, where you went and got that trial, okay, you can go here to learn ZBrush. There's documentation, there's third party, there's schools you can find out, but right here, free Z Classroom, right? So I've been saying words that mean nothing to you, like zmodeler. What's nice is you can come here and say a search and say zmodeler, right? So you can help by clicking the search, Paul. And you can see the minute I start going that, things pop up. And I can now just say, yeah, give me the videos that have zmodeler in it. Right? And here's all the videos that have something to do with zmodeler in it. Right? And then what's nice about this, if you make an account on Z Classroom, you can start watching the videos. We have them difficulty level, so you can start obviously with the green squares. Okay? But going back to the home part of this, scroll down towards the bottom, you can see there's a whole getting started section. And then this is, right now, this would probably be one of your best right here, how to start in ZBrush. Okay, this is 12 lessons. They're relatively, some of them are relatively short, like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 6 minutes. Some of them are 14, 17 minutes. But in essence, Solomon's walking you through how like he created this little shark dude. It's something simple. It's something, a great way to learn the application for you. Okay? So those are two definitely great resources for you, is that ZBrush Central, and then looking also at the Z Classroom as well, and then the documentation. And then where you're at right now, the ZBrush Live. Can't go wrong. Great spot to learn. Okay, so back to my ship. Okay. I'm going to edit this a little bit more. I want to move this in, this part. I'm going to do this, so it's just barely touching that. Perfect. That's what I want, like that. Okay. And so now what I want to do here is have a little more fun with this. I don't want it necessarily to just look like this. Okay, I want to have some kind of difference to this. So now I'm just going to solo out. Okay, and so in essence, this is going to be like, say, the floor that's in my ship. And I want to start having some fun with this, putting a little bit of pattern through here maybe. Okay, and this is also going to be helping with my size and my scaling. So I'm going to switch to zmodeler, okay, which I'm in. Because right now I'm dealing with really low polygon stuff, okay? And I'm going to say, all right, let's do insert an edge. So I'm hovering over the edge, but I'm going to do multiple edge loops, okay? And I'm just going to click and start dragging and just start doing, say, something like that. And then I'm going to click again, and now you can see I get a pattern like this, right? So I'm going to say, you know what, let's do even more. That direction, and then that direction. Let's actually do something more like, yeah, that. Let's say that. Okay? So you can see I've got different polygroups right now. Okay? Yeah, there's a measuring system inside of ZBrush if you want, Mr. Sanson, for sure. Michael Popovich, John's recommending as well. John, if you can put a link for him or her in there in your chat, in the chat, please, that'd be great for that person, so they can also see those videos as well. Okay, he's got a YouTube channel, so definitely you could go check that out. Now, what I want to do is all of these little faces, I kind of want to make another kind of little face thing happening in there. Okay, so I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to hover over a face. I'm going to switch, okay, and I'm going to switch to inset. And right by default, it'll say inset each polygon. So what that's going to do is do this, right? It's just going to inset one polygon at a time. So what I do is I wanted to do along the flat island, right? So all the faces sitting here, all those faces, I kind of want to inset all of them. All right. So I'm going to say, all right, let's do that. Right? And I changing polygroups on the fly. Right? And you can see I'm getting different polygroups in there. Right? And it's because, if you look, this has all got different polygroups. Okay, so something I'm going to do is, let's have some fun with this. Let's do something to really see the instancing system and what I'm about to do here, okay? So I'm going to switch actually to polygroup. I'm going to stay in flat island, okay? And I'm actually going to switch to checkered. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click, and then there you can see I'm getting some checkered variation in there, right? So I'm just clicking, and then if I hold the Alt key, I'm getting different kind of checker points happening. Okay? So I kind of like what's happening here now. I like what's going on. So now, when I go and do this inset now, right? And I do this, right? Well, yeah, I like the red. You can see now there's like a pink and then there's like a red tone to it, to there, right? I'm going to use both of those to my benefit, okay? So now I'm going to say I want a little bit of a little ridge. So I'm going to Q mesh. I'm going to say by polygroup all, and I'm going to pull that red one down just a bit. I'm going to change that polygroup on the fly. Okay, and you can see what I get, and then I'm going to do the same thing to that. So now I've got this pattern going on, right? So now if I pull this back my ship, you can see what that starts to look like inside the ship. Okay? Just to give you a basic understanding, right? So obviously I want to have something else. I want to do patterns that are going along here, and I want some other things happening, okay? So every one of these polygroups, right? I want these to stay kind of even maybe different polygroups if I want. Right? So now I've got like a green one and I got that red one. Okay? So what I want to do now is switch. And Yetkin, I haven't forgot about you. Let me show you this. Let me show this, and then we'll come back to what you're asking. All right? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this IMM primitive brush. Okay? Nothing crazy here. And I'm going to say brush, and I'm going to turn it into a nano. So I'm going to say that. And what this actually does is it creates a new zmodeler brush. Okay? So if I hit brush now, hold on, that's being covered by the graphics. If I hit brush, you can see there's a new zmodeler brush at the very end here, and you see it has the number 14, right? That means that there are 14 pieces of topology inside of this brush. That's what that means, okay? So what's nice about this is I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take that cube, all right, and I'm going to say on the red part, let's go inset nano, but not a single polygon. Let's go polygroup all. And I'm going to say, give me, yes, right? And you can see this is populating across the entire thing. And now this is an instancing system. So as a user, I come over here, and then there's a nano mesh menu, right? And then the beauty of this is even though I've already drawn it out, I can still go and do editing. This is what I like to do. And then to Randy Dice's questions, he's asking if you close ZBrush and reopen, did that nano mesh disappear? You're referring to the brush, I'm assuming, Randy. Yes, that brush will disappear because every time you launch ZBrush, it's looking at the brushes you have stored in your brush folder and loading those. So you would need to save that brush out and put it either in your Lightbox or put it in your brush folder. So, great job. Okay, so now that I have this, you can see I can continually rotate this. So I can put this back at rotation 0 and they're all sitting straight on, right? Then I can say, I can play with the sizing of this, right? Which is actually what I want to do. So I'm going to go to size of 1 and I'm going to say fit. So what it did is it fit actually the polygon face. But I want to play with kind of this a little bit. So let's play with the length like that. Let's play with the height. I don't want it, I want it sitting like right about there, right? And so now you can see that pattern I'm making. But then what I also want to do now is tell ZBrush, let's tile that. Right? And I can now tile that and continue to play with my heights and my widths. Right? And what I have now is a pattern like that happening. Right? So if we put my ship back on, you can see what's happening there. I'm creating this repeating pattern along the way. Right? And then it's endless. And I can now even see where it says show placement. I can hide the placement of that face. And what's happening now is this, look, it becomes transparent. So we're looking now at the bottom, right, of this is what we're looking at now, right? And again, we're just messing around right now with this. And then as a user, I can duplicate this and make another one. And you can see those instances continue on. So you can see, as we look through, you can see the other plane down there at the bottom now. Okay, but instead of doing that, since I'm making something here where I'm making some kind of floor, and I want something repeating on and over and over and over and over and over and over, right? Okay. I want that pattern also, again, I want that floor to be repeating. And I can even, at any time, I can edit the whole plane, right? And you can see everything is updating for me to what I want. Okay? This is a little repetitive, the pattern itself, but hopefully you're getting it. So what I can throw on this is not only having an instancing like this with nano, nano, nano. Every time I do, I think like I want to be a robot. Nano, nano, nano. Okay? I want to throw in array mesh, right? Which I've been using for this ship, right? That middle section is all repeated stuff there, right? It's all just repeating things going on there. Okay? And then so I'm going to say, let's turn on an array mesh. Okay? And then now I have another instancing system. I'm going to hit the Y key. Why, you ask? Because I want the transpose line. And then 100% Mr. Sanson, this is a great way to be talking about Greeble. Yeah, definitely could do something like this. Right, so now, right here, you can see I have a repeat of 2. Okay? And what I'm going to do is, all right, what did I do here? I accidentally kicked something and I deleted my whole mesh. What did I do? Oh, I replaced it. I replaced it. All my hard work. I accidentally replaced it with my gizmo. I replaced it with my gizmo. Okay, so let me just kick out this really quick again for you. Right, I got a plane. Right, that's going to be my walking area for my crew and my people, right? And then I want to make an array of this, right? and I'm going to turn on the transpose because I want to come over here and turn on transpose here. I'm also going to turn on lock position and lock size. Okay, and now what this is going to allow me to do is the transpose line has now become the driver. Okay, so now I can actually move, right? And then I can say right here, repeat more of these. So now I can see, okay, do I want this ship to have that many levels to it? Right? That really starts to give a little gauge in here of what size this ship's going to be physically for me, especially as someone, I'm trying to sell this to other people as this being a little bit bigger of a ship, right? So I can at any time change that, right? All I'm doing over here is changing the number right here, this repeat. But because I've turned on the transpose option here, I now have this. Okay, so here's, besides this trick, right? So this is now an instancing, right? So the only thing I have now is this. So if I come through here and I say, okay, let's do this. Let's do a bevel. Let's do a complete edge. And if I bevel this, you can see it's happening to all the rest of them down the line, right? And then so if I start doing other things, like I say, all right, let's do an insert, right? Let's do a single edge, and I insert an edge there. I insert an edge there, let's say. And then now I want to actually get rid of some faces. So here I'll go to solo mode so you guys can see what's going on here. And I can say, all right, let's switch to Q mesh. And let's just get rid of, maybe make a little difference change there. And you can see that little ridge is continuing on throughout this whole thing, right? So this, I can say, let's delete that instead. And let's say, okay, from here to here, there's going to be some kind of pattern. So I'm going to switch to multiple edge loops and have a little pattern going here, right? Now, you can see there's an angle now happening right here. There's a reason for that, and it's because down here, there's an edge that has an angle. So it's trying to match this, okay? So what I want to do is bring back that center line right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now go back to a single edge, and I'm zooming in right now. And as I click, you can see as I move that edge, see when I get closer to this one, see that one line starts trying to match. And I'm talking about the corner. Look at the corner, like look at this head right here and come straight down. And I'm talking to this right here. So see that edge right there? See, it's taking an angle. And see if I start moving closer to the center, it starts straightening up. So what you guys can do even is when you click, if you hold the shift key, this is now always going to be the straight, because when I clicked closer to the middle edge. So if you take this whole face, there's a center point to it, right? And you can see it right there. There's my center point. So if I click over on this side and hit the shift key, you can see it takes the angle, and I can even do that all the way down the line if I want to. Right? So I want to have like a straight edge there, let's say, and I want a straight edge on this side, let's say. Now I don't want that. Hold the Alt key, delete. Let's do that multiple edge thing. And now you can see my multiple edges, okay, have nice straight lines. So if I look from the top, see they're all perfectly straight. Okay, and I'm going to say, all right, let's throw another edge loop this way. Okay, I'm good with that. All right, and then now I'm going to say, all right, this face right here, I want to push that in. And I'm actually watching below. I'm watching the array mesh below. So I'm seeing the polygroup version, and I'm seeing the version that's array. Okay, I want to do something like that. And now all you guys have to do is tap, right? And you can see you're going to get the same thing. So maybe I want this to kind of now be a pattern here that's every other for me. So what's happening here is I've stored this action in the brush, right? So anytime I tap on the face right now, I'm going to get that same action. So again, I'm tap it in, tap it in. Right? And then the beauty is it's happening to all of them down the line. So I come out of solo mode. This is now what the pattern I'm starting to make and what's giving life to my flooring that I have happen. Okay? So, Randy Dice, you're asking, you can't instance with a normal gizmo tool? No, you have to switch to the transpose. Because the beauty, why we're doing with the transpose and not the gizmo, is because the transpose, it's either in move mode, or it's either in scale mode, or it's either in rotation mode. So you see up here, I'm in move mode, see I'm in scale mode, see I'm in rotate mode. So see, I can come in here and I can actually make pyramid-wise this, right? And that's the same thing as coming over here, right? You can see there's an offset, scale, rotate, and pivot. So the offset is the move, the scale is scale, and the rotate's rotate, right? So when I switch to this move here, right, what I'm doing is actually moving that slider right there. So you see that Y slider? If I'm now just doing this, you can see what I can do. So I can say, okay, my living quarters are going to be up here, right? And then all the vehicles and everything are going to be down here in this ship. Right? And now I'm starting to make kind of interior pieces and looking at this. All right? Now, to your question that's coming through, Dafu, about if it's not sitting in the middle of the world, right? That's the point of the pivot. The pivot's controlling everything. Okay, so for an example, here, I'm going to show you actually, okay, I got to get to the morph target trick, I think, but I want to show you guys a trick here. Let me quick save this, just so we have this quick saved, so I don't have to rebuild what I've been doing here. Okay. Oh, now I got the other one back. Sweet. All right, so I'm going to load another project here. Let's load here. No, not miscellaneous, demo projects. Okay, let's load this guy, because I think this guy will also help you understand. Okay, and then this is also going to show you guys a very, very, very cool trick and how I use array mesh. Okay, so array mesh is on right now, right? So this guy is shipping with the array mesh on. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the transpose option here, just because when I go in move mode, I want you guys to be able to see this, right? You can see where the transpose line is. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. Okay, so there is no array. And you can see what the array was doing. It was actually creating the opposite leg for me. Right, so I have the left leg, but then I don't have the other leg. I don't have that right leg, or in this case, this is the right leg, I need the left, right? So I'm going to use array mesh to give me this result. So I'm just going to turn on array mesh. Okay, I'm going to turn on the transpose, and you can see it moves to where? It moves to the center of that mesh right now. Okay, and the reason why I want this on and I want that on is that yellow circle in the middle is going to be important to us. Okay, so right now I'm in move mode. So when I stay in move mode, and I can click on any of these angles right here, right? So let's see, I'll go in solo mode, right? So you can see X, Y, Z. I can tap on these and I know it's along the X. So if I click inside this middle circle, I get this. And then I can hold the shift key and move it. And you can see I'm getting the other leg. Okay? So this is giving me another leg, but now I have to what? I have to try to eyeball it. This is also going to allow me to say, let's repeat. Okay? Now what's happening here is if I switch to say, let's just say a move brush, I've got 7 repeats. As I do this, you see it happens to all of them. You see how the legs keep moving though? Gotta make sound effects when you do stuff, man. Right? That's because I'm telling it to not lock the size of this mesh, or the position for that matter. That's what these two buttons are doing. So if you know I got lock size, now you can see they don't move. I'm pretty much saying that don't readjust the distance, okay, based upon the size. Okay, with this off, it's telling the array mesh, keep that bounding box that you have, and I've already told it that the offset is a -10 right now. So I'll just type in a -10 so we have an exact number. So I've told it the offset is a -10. So it's looking at the bounding box of the mesh and making sure that offset stays at a -10, -10, -10. Now, if I turn on the lock size, I'm pretty much saying, no, don't move the bounding box based upon the size now. So it's, no, lock down this size. Lock it down, right? And then in essence, that's the same thing for positioning. Okay, now, what I'm going to do is put this back to 2. And I'm going to put my amount back to 0. So I'm just now at the default. So this is in essence me grabbing this model, and you guys can follow along with me because it ships with ZBrush. Okay? I would just need to turn on Array Mesh, that's it, and then turn on these other buttons. So in essence, turn on these 4 buttons right here. That's it. That's so far all we're doing. Okay? Then you're going to hit the W key, and you'll see the transpose will sit right here. Okay? And then I'm going to say, let's reset this transpose. So right here, there's a reset. And what that does is it puts it at the center of the world. So now that button is sitting at the center of the world. Okay? And now the beautiful thing here is you saw that transpose line move. Okay? That's resetting the pivot point is what's happening here. Okay? So to that question, the pivot point is going to be really important. Okay, so now I say, all right, fabulous. Okay, watch this. Mirror X, bingo, bango, I got the other leg. So what's beautiful about this, people, is I've got double symmetry. Look, I've got, let's switch to the zmodeler. I've got now, I can say grab this face, let's say just a single polygon, and you can see it happens on both legs. So I've got symmetry along the leg, and then I've got symmetry on the other leg. So I've got a double symmetry. So I got symmetrical leg to leg, and then the leg itself is symmetrical. Okay? And then there you go. And the camera will allow you to go inside the surface. You can go inside the surface. There will be a point we don't allow you to do like what you're bringing up. We don't allow you to just fly through a mesh completely. We don't allow that. We stop it at a certain point when it gets close enough to the face. We don't allow a complete fly through unless you go and change to a different camera settings. You can do it, but you need to adjust your camera settings. Okay, so this trick in essence is the highlighting here is your pivot point. Okay? So to the question, right, if I turn this off and then just start moving this in space, you can see now it's moving based upon the mirroring aspect and where I am. Okay, so if I turn off the mirror, right, and then now I just start moving this in a different direction, okay, the pivot is going to become important, right? So if I now turn this on, this is pivoting in the world, right? So if I switch to rotate and I start rotating, right, you can see this is rotating, right, around, right, in a different way, right? You can see it's rotating around that particular pivot point, right? Okay, so to go backwards to this, all right, let's keep it like this, okay? If I now just start moving this, right, see it's rotating, okay? But if I grab that yellow circle and move this somewhere else, right, now I'm rotating along that pivot point. Okay, so if I now start repeating these, okay, and then this pivot, I'm going to say, all right, let's make it be, let's go -6. Okay, and then the rotation, let's go 360 degrees the other way. 360 degrees this way. So what really is happening here is that circle is dependent upon where the pivot point is actually sitting. Right? And it's looking at the relation. This is the original mesh, but then this is the pivot. So if I move this around, you can see I can start moving the pivot point. Right? So in essence, if I start moving this mesh somewhere else in space, you can see this is all changing. Now if I want to now go back to this, right, and now move the pivot in, see I can move it back in, and even though now that's not sitting at the perfect center of the world, it's just an adjustment of my pivot point. Right? And of course you could even move your pivot point this way, out this way, right? And you can start getting different rotations and different things happening here. So it's all really based upon the pivoting. Where is that pivot point going to sit? Okay, so let me answer this morph target because we're also running out of time soon. I don't have too much time left. I still got time, but I don't have a ton of time. Okay, so your question again. Throw that question to me. Are you still here? So sorry. Like, you asked this question in the very beginning, and I said, I'll come back to you. It's all coming back to me now. Okay, let's grab. Ooh, I like that material. Yes, yes. Okay, so you were asking about morph targets. Okay, so again, this is definitely a tangent. No, you cannot move the pivot with the transpose line. I mean, with the gizmo. I actually like that because the gizmo gives me mesh movement, in essence, in the space. And then the transpose, because I have the transpose option, that's giving me my array mesh controls. So you can't move it with the gizmo. Okay, so to the morph target question, okay, what's happening here is if you're going in to the morph target, okay, we only allow one morph target, okay, per subtool on one subdivision level. So in essence, this mesh is sitting at, and put in your question again with the morph target again, please. You're sitting at subdivision level 5, right? And I can come in here and say, all right, store morph target. So what we've done is we've stored a version of this head, what it looks like now, right? So as an artist, if I'm sculpting on here, okay, and I start sculpting some details, I start putting some stuff in here and I say, yes, and then I say, oh, let's move to this brush, let's do a spray, let's do a crazy spray, and yes, yes, craziness is going on now. He's got pimply hair, right? Or yeah, maybe do negative. His skin is going away, right? Throw a little bit of Damien Standard in there. Okay, so all this is being stored now. In essence, there's two different versions. Okay, so if I switch, there's the version. More meatloaf now, Mom. Okay, there's the that's for an inside joke for someone that just joined us. Okay, so there's a version of, I need to make that a graphic actually. There's a version of the head with no change, and then there's a version the head with change. Okay, so all the sliders here are going to allow you to do different things here. Okay, so the morph one is just switching between the morph targets. So in essence, I'm transitioning now, like between it. So I'm saying give me 50%. So like a 50-50. 50% with nothing, 50% with, right? That's all that morph is. It's a transitional thing, right? So it's the same thing if I went and grabbed the morph brush here. I can actually start morphing out things. In essence, ZBrush is now grabbing the version that's clean. And this is a great way for me to kind of just clean up what I did there, right? So you have other controls here. Okay, Mom, meatloaf, right? And the other things that you could have is a create difference. This is very, very handy and can be very powerful. So when I click that button, ZBrush is going to go, okay, I've got two versions of this head. I got a clean version of the head, and I've got this crazy sculpted version of the head. Okay, I want a mesh now of only the difference of wherever I sculpted on the crazy version. So when I click this, I'm going to get a new surface that is only the parts where I sculpted and nothing else. That's it, right? So this is all I'm getting now. I'm not getting anything else but the difference where I kind of sculpted. Okay, so if, I don't know, let's do this. Okay, so let's grab a sphere. Right, and then I say morph target, and then let's just go with the Damien Standard, and I say hi, right, and I say create difference. You can see the only thing I get now is the hi with the smiley face. That's it. That's what the morph difference is doing. Okay? That's what you're getting in there, right? Is having that ability to mess with this. And then so all these are just different things depending on what you're doing. So this is going to be used in a different way in the morph projection, and then you have a morph distance as well, right? So if I switch it, I can project the morph into the switched version, right? That's what it's doing. It's in essence remembering, okay, I've switched now to the clean version, but then there's the sculpted version, and now I'm telling it to, in essence, project, okay, to that. Flash in Nation. I like that. Or is it Flash I Nation? I like that. That's a good name. Good name. I like that. Okay. So this, right, would be like what I see is coming up right now already, the layering system. So you can use the layers, in essence, as multiple morph targets, right? So if here, let's undo what I did. Let's delete this. So now if I go in the layers, this is sculpted paint and masking layers, okay? So if I say, okay, click this button, new layer, I'm in record mode, all right? So now if I'm doing this, right, all this, in essence, think about it, it's going into a sculpted layer. Sculpted layer. Yeah! Right? So I'm in record mode. So if I click to the right of that, it's now just in view mode. Okay, and then now if I turn it on, that's like saying, okay, looking at the version before I did sculpting, then looking at the version without I did sculpting. And then you got a slider, which is just pretty much like what we were doing with the morph distance, right? And then I can go negative, and I can turn the pushing in to out. And then if I want to go crazy, I can keep pushing it in because I have a magnifying slider down here as well, right? So by default, the slider is going to go all the way to 1, right? And then I can go with the magnifying slider down here. Now, the one other big difference between this layering system and that keyword's coming in, I love it, non-destructive. If I put myself in record mode, I can walk down subdivision levels, still add things, and this is actually being added to the layer. So when I walk back up, okay, and go to eyeball, you can see what I did on the lower level was actually put in this layer. So that's also the big difference between morph targeting. If you remember, morph targeting is only allowing you, okay, to store per subtool on one subdivision level. Where the layer system is, I can have multiple, and then I can work with them up and down any of the subdivision levels that I want. Right? So this is where that kind of really opens up and gives me advantages. And me, I love to use this for things like surface noise, because sometimes I change my mind on what the noise that I want. The noise mechanism. Right? So here, let me see if I can find really quickly. Again, here we go. Here we go. Here's something with some noise on it. So here's where I really live by the noise. Okay? Is this armor, right, that I'm making. So you can see I have even different types of noise. So you see this one's clean, and this one's got the flower pattern, but it's also got little bits chipping away at inside as well. So I've got a nice clean flower thing happening, and then I've got that chipping part going at it as well. Okay? Yes, Sir Jaime. So you guys have probably seen this model. This is an old model I pulled up multiple times. Right? So to your question, view more layers at one time and a simple reset all. Well, you can view more layers at one time. As you just turn them on, it's viewing them all. So as the eyeballs are on, those layers are what's on. And reset all layers, do you mean by like wiping them and like getting rid of all the information in the layers, Doggy? Is that what you're talking about? Okay, so, but this is where I like to use the layering system, right? So I have this that I've been building, right? So there's this little piece right here. Right now, this is all being driven by a noise that's here, right? It's not anything spectacular. Okay, so I'm going to divide up a little bit more and just give it some more love in here. I'm going to even go a little bit more. So I'm at 3.4 million, which really isn't a ton. Okay, I'm going to turn my noise on. Noise. And I'm going to say I only want that pattern in that poly group. So, right, so see, it's not going to touch anything right here now. Right, and for this sake, it's not going to be inside as well. I only want it how I'm seeing it right here. That's the only spot I want this noise. Okay, in this surface noise, have found a nice level that I like. Okay, but you never know down the line as I'm actually working on this and going at it, I might want to do more, right? So I'm going to make a layer. Okay, so I'm going to put myself in record mode, right? And in the surface noise, I'm going to tell it now, apply to the mesh. Okay, I'm going to apply it to the mesh. And now what ZBrush is doing is taking that noise that I have, and then now it's actually applied to the mesh. And so what also is being applied to this layer is not just the noise, the mask is also being applied here. Okay, so as you can see, the noise is off now, and now everything's in a layer, right? So can turn this on and off, on and off. And if I go in record mode, right, I can see and make changes. But what's nice about this is down the line, I can say, you know what, I don't like where it's sitting now. I want to knock it down 50%, so I can go 0.5, and you can see it pushes back that noise. Or maybe, you know, what does it look like negative? Maybe I change my mind, and I want to, go the opposite and go, okay, let's go -1. And then now see, I've got the opposite. Because I'm on a layer, I have all this freedom, right? And I can go back to 1. Then I can come down here to this magnifier and go, what does it look like if I throw it up to 2? What if I throw it up to 3? Right? And you can see maybe, like, if you think about what are you even doing for a living? If I'm a person that's going to be 3D printing it, right? You might do a print and you realize, the noise just isn't coming out. Because I have this on a layer, it's a simple thing. Go to the layer and just let's magnify this. I don't have to go and try and now re-figure out how to reapply this detailing that I put on here. Okay? So this allows you to do this, right? To allow me to just quickly edit and change things. And even if I change my mind, I don't like that pattern anymore, I can turn that pattern off and go and apply a whole new noise. And so I'm not, in essence, what I like to say, married to those details, married to those features that I'm throwing in there. Okay? There's a lot of things popping through right now. Hold on, let me now catch up because some of them are pretty long, what you guys are saying in the chatteroo right now. Chatteroo! Okay, I see someone else is answering the third person. So I'm assuming you're talking about first person is looking through the camera as in if you are the camera. So no, that's technically a little bit of what we're doing right now in a sense. But no, there's no switching modes like that because you guys can't actually select the camera inside of ZBrush. Like you don't have a visual camera to see like you do in the other application that you're talking about. Oh, Pre-Drag's talking about this armor, how I made it. He's actually talking about what episode that is, Halloween edition. Okay, so Randy, you're asking me to please rewind how I applied the noise. So again, how I'm doing this, all right, so I'll go ahead and delete this layer. Right, it's in my surface noise, so it's a noise. Okay, I know I have polygrouping because I did this on purpose. Because I only want, in essence, this part, right? Let's solo this out. I only want this part to get the noise, right? So you can see only this part right here. So when I bring it back, see everything else got the noise? I want to flip it, so only this has the noise. So I'm just flipping my mask, okay? All right? And then now I'm just telling it, instead of just applying to the mesh and just say, okay, take that noise and actually do the deformation. Okay, so if you want to see what your results are going to be, people, the best thing to do is do a render. If you do Shift R and you do the render, how it looks like in this render is pretty much how it's going to apply. Right now the noise isn't baked in at all. It's a visual, it's a surface noise feature that we're just visually showing. So if I go into edit, you can see right here, right? I'm using an image that I made along with this noise that I made over here. So I'm using this with this, and I'm telling it based upon the max. So I can do like a min, I can do a difference, I can do a multiply, I can do a mixture. So now I'm getting a mixture of the noise. Noise! Right? And in here there's a strength to push the noise in and out, right? But what I'm doing is I'm using that strength in the actual layering system. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm telling ZBrush, okay, let's actually apply this noise. Let's throw it at it. Let's make it art, right? I apply it to the mesh, but what I want to do is first make a layer that's in record mode. Okay, so that when I go to apply it, I'm in record mode, so ZBrush in the layering is looking at the change that we have compared to what we had, right? And so now if I click to the right out of record mode, all this is now is like a layer. So just think about it like Photoshop in a sense, right? This is more like Photoshop layering. Okay? And then that's it. And then at any time I can now come back here and this dial it back if I want to dial it back. And if I don't like it anymore, I turn off the eyes and then I can just delete it with it off. Right? And then now it's gone. I start all over again. Start all fresh. Okay? That makes sense to you now? Now, hopefully that helps you out a little bit more and gets you to get an understanding of that. John, let me look at your question. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go soon because I have to actually get in another meeting. But let me see what your question was. I think my question was lost in the mix. LOL. I can't remember how to do the morph target and fiber mesh to get... Oh, yes. Thanks, John. This is awesome. People, this is awesome. I love it. John, you're the best. Thanks for bringing this up. Okay, so everyone, straight out. This is like across the board. Lisa needs braces. Look at her. Look at me! Look at me! Caca! Caca! Right? I can't. This is for the youth. This is all my silly little freaking little buttons that I have here, all in one. This trick is awesome, and I don't see it being used, but it can be used in so many ways. Okay, now let's divide this guy up. So we talked about actually morph targets. Okay. So I'm going to go here to my morph target. I'm going to store morph target. All right. And let's say I want to start making some kind of beard shape for this guy. Like, I'll make him look a little bit like Abraham Lincoln, let's just say. So I'm just going to quickly just start mapping out and say, okay, I want it to do this. Okay, it should come down here a little bit more like that. Maybe come under his chin. He's got a low line like me. And right now I got lazy face going on right now. Man, I can't wait to get my hair cut, I'll be honest with you. Oh, God. Oh, I got to find some clippers. All right, and then now I'm just doing that. And I can go smaller, right? And add a little bit of smaller stuff in here. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And then come over here. Let's go bigger. Let's keep going. Let's actually start pulling this out a lot more. Oh, no, I don't want that. Okay, a lot more. Oh, yeah, there. Happy little trees. Happy little trees. All right, I'm going to switch to the morph target real quick because I'm going to erase this stuff down here. I was going super over the top fast. Going on. Okay. So I've got this, right, which looks pretty good. Quick way to make a beard, right? So this is just this. Right? So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to turn off double because we're going to use fiber mesh. And I don't want fibers mesh. It looks like Joseph Trust. Yeah, Joseph's hair is like crazy now, right? His hair's like all like... I can do Joseph's hair. We both have the same type of hairstyle, which is Beatles from the 1960s. Right? It doesn't look a little bit like Joseph Trust. I'll give it to you. Mr. Sanson, I'll give it to you. All right, so this trick... Everyone, pay attention, okay? This trick is pretty awesome, okay? So when I go into fiber mesh, Okay, and I want to create some kind of like the beard, but I want it to be fibers. So I'm going to go into fiber mesh, and I'm going to just hit preview. It goes everywhere. Okay, this is the reason why I actually turned double off. This is an important understanding. This is a definitely Lisa needs braces. If you have double on, we're going to create fibers that shoot inside, not just outside. Okay, so I only want fiber meshes to shoot right out. So you can see as I go in here, there's none of them going inside, right? I don't want that. Okay, so if you turn double on, okay, you can see, look, see there's none being created inside. So if I have double on in preview, you can see now I'm getting fibers shooting inward. That's a waste of fibers. I shouldn't be doing that. That's a waste, okay? So I definitely would want to have double off, okay? Because I would want to have more something like this, right? And you can clearly see now there's none shooting inside. All right. So I've just got a bunch of fibers here right now. Okay, bunch of fibers going on. And what I want to do now is I want to tell ZBrush, hey, that morph target that I did, remember, it's got that beard thing that I did, right? Really quick. It's got this beard part. And what I'm going to now tell ZBrush, hey, you know those fibers? Use the morph target as your guide. Bam! So where I sculpted is the only places now I'm going to get fibers. So I'm going to say, yeah, that looks good. Let's get a little more coverage in there. I want a little bit thicker of a beard. Maybe not so many now. More coverage. I got a little, like, yes. And you see where it's popping up here? Right? I can switch to the morph brush, right? Right? And then you can start getting rid of things like that. Okay, so that's what this trick again is. Again, I'm looking at this, okay, where we have a morph target, and it's key that when you're going to do this, all right, this fiber mesh trick, you don't want to be in this mode, okay? You don't want to be in this mode. You want to be in the clean mode, because I want it to go look at the version that I sculpted, okay? And I like the comment that's coming through right now. I can't repeat it. I got to stay thing, right? And then now I'm saying preview. And then because I've turned this on, that's what I'm getting, right? So at any point in time, I can now switch back. And you guys got to think about this in other terms, right? I can now switch to, let's just switch to a move brush, right? And then pull something out like this. Smooth it up a little bit. Like that, right? And I got these little horn things in that, right? And then come in preview. And then you can see those fibers are getting made there, right? And then you can control the gradient. So if I just want to strictly look at where the normals are going, it'll look straight at the normals. But if I want to throw, I'm going to get rid of the twist as well. I can throw a little gradient in this to make it really come to life. This is just, and then so the length of the fibers are depending. So I definitely need more segments on this. A little bit more segmentation. And I don't need as many. Something like that. And then bada bing, bada boom. I don't know why I say stuff like this now. But there you go. Okay, did that make sense? Okay, so to your question, let's say you forgot to save morph target. Well, there's no saving a morph target. Once you click morph target, okay, you have it. It's there. It saves with the tool. Now, if you want to do this trick and you never did a morph target, that's easy, people. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off. All you would have to do is have a version that has this, right? Okay, this is sitting at 911,000 polygons. I would export this, and let's just call this demo head. I'm going to save this on my desktop. Boom. Okay. Right? And then now if we go back to this, whoops, and I switch and I delete, and now you don't have one, well, all you do is go to the subdivision level that matches this model, right? So I'm sitting at 911 still. That vertex count matches the vertex count that I exported. Just hit store morph target, and right now you've got a version. They're both the same. Boom, boom. They're the same faces. So now all I do is just import what I just exported on top of this. at the same subdivision level, at the same polygon count. So there's my demo head, right? And then there you go. And then now I can switch back and forth. So even if you forgot to do this, it's not like you can't do it. It's not like you can't use that trick, right? Totally possible. Profi, you're new to 3D modeling stuff, so my question, can I do the whole sculpting, rigging, painting workflow just using ZBrush? Or is there a necessity to use other programs? You can absolutely, all the sculpting can be done in ZBrush. You can paint in ZBrush for sure, and there's a lot of features inside of ZBrush. There is a way to rig stuff in ZBrush and pose it, but I just don't have enough time, unfortunately, to start going through all that. That's like a whole nother stream. But yes, to your question, you can do stuff like that. But as you start working in the 3D world, you might find other things you want to sprinkle across here. Okay, unfortunately, everybody, I have to go. I have to call it a stream. We're coming up on 1 o'clock. Okay, what's the difference between save as a tool or export? Saving a tool saves everything. It saves your subdivision levels. It saves any poly painting you've done, any layers you've done. Export is literally just exporting the vertex count, and that's it. That's it. It's just at what you're seeing, that's all that goes. Okay? That's the difference between saving a tool and export. I would love to go longer, but unfortunately I can't. I got another thing I got to get into. Yeah, where my arm's sculpted in. Stop it. It's just really hot because I have my AC off, so it doesn't have that noise for you guys. Everyone, thank you so much for being a part. Again, I'm actually streaming on Saturday again, so if you've had fun with me here, actually I'm cooking up something that's different for Saturdays. Okay, I'm seeing if I can maybe make something happen. I'm definitely streaming, but I might do something special in that stream. Okay, so definitely tune in on Saturday. It's at noon LA time. Okay, Pacific Coast time. It's noon. I'll be going noon to 2. Join me for another stream. But of course, tomorrow we've got my man Solomon Blair going at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And then you guys, I'm sure, have been seeing this. And Joseph Drust will be going. And Joseph We Drust will be going Friday at 11 a.m. And then I'll be going again on Saturday. The array mesh snake again. Yeah, Yetkin, come into that, and I can probably throw that at you. Okay? I just don't have time anymore for this stream. I got to unfortunately get going. Mike Mayart! All right, so everyone, thank you again for tuning in. Again, keep showing it for all those streams I'm saying. By the way, one last thing that I want to point out for you all that I think would be great, just for you guys, because obviously I just rattled off like a bunch of streams, and I don't expect you all to remember that. You guys would want to probably go to ZBrushLive.com. And obviously you can watch the stream here as well. So obviously we're broadcasting to our Twitch, our YouTube, many things. But if you guys go here to our calendar, okay, up here at the top, there's a calendar section. And then you can see here, there's my stream. There's the streams tomorrow, so forth and so on. So like say, hey, I want to watch your Saturday stream, just as an example. You can come here to the 9th. You can click on this stream right here. And you can actually get an email reminder the day before. So you have a reminder ability right here. And you guys, if you are using Apple product, you can add it to your iCalendar. And if you have a Google Calendar, you can actually add it to your Google Calendar, which that can be linked to multiple other calendars out there. So this would be a way for you guys to go see what streams are coming up and just go through the calendar of May. We show 1 month at a time. So if there's any other people that you've really been enjoying, like Mike Thompson's awesome. Like I would recommend checking his out, right? So all you got to do is click on his time, and then you can get a reminder and add it to your calendar. So we just updated this last week to give this more ability for you guys to not miss out on anything. Right? And then in the calendar view, you guys can also look at it not just by a calendar, but you can say agenda view, and then you can just scroll through and see who's all coming up. And then, of course, you can click on those and get back to that as well. Nano. Okay, everyone. So have a delicious evening. Thanks so much for being a part of my craziness live streaming. I do really enjoy these. They're a ton of fun for me. I love being able to communicate with you guys this way and give you live things right on the fly. Randy, thanks for always tuning in on our streams. I see you in Joseph's and Solomon's as well all the time. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I gotta go. I'll see you hopefully on Saturday. If not, I stream again next week, Wednesday. So Have a wonderful evening for those somewhere else in the world. This is Paul. I'm out!